Call to order the January 11th, 2024 Avon Town Council meeting. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Julie, would you mind taking a roll call, please?
All right. Tim Roberts. Jason Puckett.
Present.
Greg Zuzan.
Present.
Don Loudon.
Present.
Robert Pope.
Present. Thank you, Julie. First item on the agenda is our consent agenda, which includes the check register for today's meeting, approval of our minutes from our December 21st council meeting. Any questions, discussion, or would anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Julie, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Don Loudon.
4.
Greg Zuzan.
4.
Jason Puckett.
4.
Robert Pope.
4. Next item on the agenda is first of 2 public comment opportunities. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and please limit your time to 3 minutes.
Hi, everybody. Jeremy Eglin, 763 Beechwood Center Road, Avon, Indiana, 46123. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for the town of Avon, for the citizens of the town of Avon, for the chance to be the town court judge. Now that I'm free of that, I can come up here and actually present to you and talk to you like normal people. So I am glad to have that freedom. But more than that, even, I wanted to express my profound gratitude for everybody that helped over the past year as the court was winding down. I hadn't been there for too long before I realized that the worst thing that could possibly happen to me was that Lori left the job. And Lori obviously was not given the opportunity to finish out. And she was, in large part, the court. She's the court administrator. And as you guys know, the things that happen behind the scenes are, you know, the majority of the iceberg. People see the tip, everything else is going on underneath, and she did that. And we had a team that stepped up in a way that I could not have done on my own. Kathy Selch was a champion and learned a year's worth of work in like a month. And Julie let her do that and gave her the opportunity, and I'm sure it increased the burden on Julie and other people in the office, so I'm grateful for that. Crystal McGranahan and Ashley Chappell assisted. Kathy assisted in the court office, gave a lot of their time, and Chief Stoops and Brian Nugent also assisted in the roundup and the wrap-up of the court, and they're still dealing with the records that it turns out we have to keep for eternity for some reason. So I am grateful to them. I thank them all, and I just thought it was necessary to give them, just a little bit of public recognition for everything they've done. So thanks to everybody.
Jonathan DeArmond, 2084 Talisker Court. Just wanted to introduce myself, a couple new faces, well, a new face at least. Welcome, congratulations. The other thing, a little bit of gratitude, sitting in at the tail end of that meeting before it. You guys, it's not all exciting. So I did put my name in. I'm currently on the Parks Beautification Recreation Council. Love it. I think we're doing great things. Good leadership. Yay. So just want to let you know I'm down for that again if you'll have me, and any other things. And then to clear something up, I pulled the Republican ticket, but I'm definitely independent. So I'd like to read a little bit of Indiana code and explain how those two things can be possible. A voter may vote at a primary election if the voter at the last general election voted for a majority of the regular nominees of the political party holding the primary election. And in this jurisdiction, if you vote for every office, you're voting primarily for Republicans, with one exception who made the news statewide in 2020. So just thought I'd clarify that for fun. Thanks, guys.
Seeing no one else come forward, we'll close that section of public comment, move on to department updates. Steve, you jumped up with a quickness.
Want to get out of here. Steve Moore, Public Works Director. First thing I want to talk about is my new employee. We have Eli Scott. He started on the 2nd, and Keaton praises Eli's work daily. He's really enthralled with Eli, but more importantly, I am. So I'm really happy with the production that we're getting out of Eli and Keaton at this point. So it was a good hire so far. 2023 Community Crossing paving project was completed, and in December, there was some warranty work that we'll have done in the spring on Avon Ave by the library. We're keeping the pothole filled, as there's 2 of them, as we can. There must have been some base failure, so we have to keep that going until the contractor is able to repair that fully in the spring. The 2024 CCMG application is due at the end of this month. Banning Engineering is working on our estimate for our application. We took the Oxford Park, Oxford Boulevard, and the 100 South section that's adjacent to it off the 2023 list. We were going to have to pay 100% of it, and we were trying to get it done last year. Contractor couldn't get to it. So we took that off of his plate, and we're going to apply for it, so we aren't paying half of it if we get awarded the 2024. So trying to save some money there. There are 34 roads on the 2024 list, and once we get our estimate back, we'll see if we're good or if we have to add or subtract roads from that project. We installed rapid flashing pedestrian crossing signals on 200 North at the Bicentennial Trail. And then also at 625 for the White Lake Trail, that's adjacent to the town of Avon Sports Park. She didn't catch that. The school zone light on Dan Jones South of County Road 100 North has been relocated to north of 100 North due to closing of the Kingsway School. That was pretty much at the request of the police department. Where'd he go? He's there somewhere. Ronald Reagan, the right and right out at Portillo seems to be working really well so far. I'm pretty happy with that one. County Road 100 South reconstruction is still going on, but it's just little things at this point, some pipe joint seals and a new video that we have to get from them, but that's pretty much it. The County Road 100 North Raceway Road roundabout is ongoing with property acquisition at this point. Right-of-way acquisition, 900 East at Angelina Way roundabout, the Costco roundabout, if you will. Utility coordination is ongoing. Right-of-way acquisition was approved by the RDC, and so we should be going to bid possibly in February. Dan Jones Road widening, phase 1 is all but done except for surface and then final markings. So they're done for the winter. They'll just have a little bit of work in the spring. Phase 2 is getting ready to start. That's by 150 South, from 100 South to 150 South, just beyond. Tree clearing's done. The 3 houses slated for demolition are all demolished. They're just doing some backfill on the 2 south or 2 north ones. So that shall be done pretty much, I'm guessing, tomorrow. And then next week we'll start. We have other houses to be demolished throughout town, and they'll get done those next week. The winner of the Dan Jones 2 project is White Construction out of Clinton, Indiana, and you might recognize the name, though they did the construction on the US 36 added travel lane project that was completed recently. We had a really good relationship with them, by the way. Dan Jones Road widening phase 3, the final check plans are under revision. They're conducting environmental utility coordination, and that should bid next year, early 2025. Dan Jones widening phase 4, that's north of Oriole Way to Bradford. That's we submitted a funding request for that to the MPO. We should hear about that in March. We also submitted another funding request to the MPO for HSIP. That's Highway Safety Improvement projects. We submitted $1 million highway program request, and it's for preemption. And preemption is where the signals, the emergency signals on a vehicle, police, fire, ambulance, whatever that's equipped with it, can trip the signal to get the preferential green light. We're working with the Avon Police Department, the Washington Township Fire Department, and then Hendricks County as well to get those done. It's a 90-10 program, so we're only paying 10% of the cost of the project. And we're paying even less than that because everybody who's participating will pay their portion for the stuff that's on their signal or on their vehicles. But yeah, these upgrades will establish preemption on signals that were taken down by the 36 added traveling project. As part of our agreement with NDOT, we have to pay for that. Well, we're going to hopefully get help paying for that. Also, there's some of the signals in town and around town didn't have the preemption, and those are going to get added. And they're all going to get upgraded. Right now we have infrared, which is a line of sight. We're going to go to GPS. We'll keep the line of sight for old vehicles, so all vehicles that are helping out in Avon, wherever they come from, if they have infrared, they'll be able to get the preferential treatment. If they have GPS, they will as well. So whatever anybody has, they'll be able to work within the town of Avon. So we'll get faster response time and safer response time. Stormwater utility just accepted the bid of SLB for the Avon Heights drainage project at $685,000. They're the ones who just completed the Beechwood project. We really liked them. They did a nice job. So we're pretty happy that they got the low bid for this project. We have utility coordination going on right now. They're actually Center Point's doing gas line relocation in there now. Once all the utilities are relocated, then they're going to do the drainage project this summer. And then by the end of the summer, hopefully they get done soon enough, we'll go ahead and repave the rest of the roads in that neighborhood. So they'll all be completed. I thought we were done with drainage projects for the year, but we just completed a couple more. Casco in Kingston, that was like an ice skating rink last year, and so we put in inlets, whatever. I know Shelby's disappointed that she wanted to have a public ice skating rink, but we took care of that water, so it's not going to be there anymore. And then we have another little drainage project we have to do on the Dan Jones improvements that they just did on the west side of the road. We found some inconsistencies with grades, and we're going to fix that. So that'll happen hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Street sweeping is complete. It took longer than anticipated. It's a new company. They had equipment breaks down. They bought a new sweeper, which did well, but the new sweeper took time to get here, so it put them behind schedule. The only good thing about it was they actually took out some more sand and stuff that we applied after they would have normally been done. So we got more stuff removed than we would have. And that's pretty much it. Any questions for me?
Are you hoping that our community crossing grant will be $1 million? I mean, is that how you're trying to put this together?
Well, we're hoping it's for the amount that we can afford, half of. There's a new limit of $1.5 million. And so, we could put together a $3 million project if we can come up with $1.5 million. I'm not sure we can get there, but we're going to kind of formalize how much we can afford and go to maximize the amount. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Hello, Ian Loera, Senior Planner on behalf of the Planning Department. We have one item on the January 16th BZA meeting. It's SE 2305. Brewster's Ice Cream drive-through. They need a special exception because they're in Tier 1. So they're seeking that drive-through. For the January 22nd Plan Commission meeting, we have 3 petitions on the agenda. MAPP 2317 Village Place Townhomes is going to primary plat. You're probably familiar with that. We went through that quite a bit. So they're in the platting phase at this time. There's some waivers associated with that. So that'll be on that Monday. That we also have DPR 2313. That's 1137 Avon Avenue. It's a C-store and gas station that's proposed to go in the old superwash site. There's still some deficiencies on those plans. So we're to see whether they will go forward on that date. We also have MAPP 2314 Harper Estates. That's Dan Jones between 36 and 100 North at the church there. They have asked for a continuance to February because they are still working on a plan with our Dan Jones widening there. They're trying to coordinate with us to ensure that the access onto Dan Jones is done appropriately. So that's all we have for the public hearing there. There are also some administrative petitions that are being reviewed by planning staff. We have DPR 2315 East-West Intermediate School Transition, as well as DPR 2316 Avon Middle School North Expansion. Those are both very minimal, small additions to the schools that don't meet the threshold to go to the Plan Commission meeting. So we are approving them administratively, and that's under review now. We have received applications for the February 20th Plan Commission meeting. So I'll just give those to you. We have 2 rezones, ZA 2306 Mission Foods. That's 2 lots on 100 South on the south side of the road, just west of Ronald Reagan. They're seeking to rezone from R1 to I3 so that Mission Foods can construct an industrial accessory use for their tortilla manufacturing to the west. So we have that, as well as ZA 2401 Canuck Derringer. This is a property that is just east of the water park, and that's currently in the county. They're seeking to annex. You'll get that annexation petition in front of you eventually here. We have received it, just a matter of getting it in front of you. They're seeking to rezone to R2. They're proposing 45 single-family residential lots for that. Both of these, I believe, are scheduled to go in front of you for introductions on the January 25th meeting. So you'll be able to see those in greater detail at that time. In addition, we received application for secondary plat, MAPF 2401 for Bellwood Section 3. That's the final section of Bellwood. That's 51 lots there, and they are including an amenity center that includes a pool house, and playground. And then lastly, we have DPR 2401 Avon South Middle School tennis courts. They're proposing 8 tennis courts on their property. And then lastly, we met with HWC today to discuss our plan for the comprehensive plan, discuss the contract there. So that was just our first meeting to get things going, and that'll continue to progress. So any questions?
Who was the contact person with HWC?
We met with Corey Weitzel today. I don't believe that is going to be our direct contact. I think it's Sarah, Rachel. Rachel, thank you, Ryan. So that will be, she wasn't at the meeting today, but that will be our direct contact.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ryan. That's all.
Thanks, Ian.
Good evening, Shelby Pride, Parks Director. From an event standpoint, we have our first event of the year coming up on January 20th. It is Glow Bingo. It is sold out. It was a free event, but it's sold out. We have a very long wait list. We're looking to add seats to that, so hopefully we might be able to get a few more people off of that wait list. All of our event dates are planned for the year, and we're excited to not only bring our big signature events back, but we have some new, fun, exciting programs and events that we're going to be bringing to the community. I'm really excited and proud of my team for thinking of some of these awesome things. The sports team basketball season is in full swing, full court shot, haha. Spring registrations are open, so you're welcome. Spring sport registrations are open now, and I encourage you to help us market that and get these kiddos playing sports with us. From a maintenance standpoint, the Christmas tree is disassembled and stored. It took 4 hours to disassemble and store. I am so proud. There were no injuries, no harm, no foul. We have new grass growing already where we tore the concrete out for that area. So everything was worked out beautifully. I had budgeted for 2 new mowers to be purchased in 2024. So in December, Chuck had done some research and got those quotes so that in 2024 we could get those ordered if there was any order time on those. The amount came in under what we had budgeted, under what we could approve outside of council. So we went ahead and ordered those 2 new mowers. They will be the exact same mowers that we purchased last year. So we will have 4 matching mowers, and we'll be able to cut the grass to the same level we have been, immaculately. The new T-swing was installed. I brought this to you guys last fall. We received it. They actually installed it a week and a half ago. The swing, it's in the ground, so the concrete cure time is 28 days for maximum curation. So we haven't let the swings down yet. We're going to give it that maximum cure time. It's perfect timing because not a lot of people are out on the swing sets right now. But this is at the North Park. This is the one that has that new generation buddy swing. We have not installed that yet to kind of keep people away from it, but I'm very excited once we get that up to promote that we have that new addition to our park. Thank you again for allowing that. And then to kind of wrap up 2023, I wanted to highlight some of the trainings that my staff did that we'll be able to utilize fully in 2024. So all park staff received Project Lifesaver training with Brian Nugent. The police department also purchased the transmitter. The receiver for that. So again, if anything were to happen on our properties, my staff is fully trained to go out and utilize that. We were the first municipality in Hendricks County to receive dementia training. Over 80% of all town employees attended that. So that was just an extra, feather in our cap that we can help people, help the community. All of my park staff received TAC MedKit training, again, through the police department, which will help us assist if there's ever an emergency on one of the trails or in the parks. We had 2 employees attend tree steward trainings and actually become certified tree stewards. 1 employee attended a certified playground safety inspector course and then took a 3-hour exam and passed that with flying colors. That is a 3-year certification, so we're really happy to have that on staff to be able to maintain our playground equipment. And then all maintenance staff attended the Indiana Park and Rec Association maintenance seminar last year, and we already have it on our calendar to reattend that in April. And like I said, we have a lot of projects and events coming up this year that we are so excited to bring the community. So, any questions? Welcome, Jason.
Thanks, Shelby.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sean Stoops, Chief of Police. The Avon Police Department, we have begun our hiring process for this year. For more information on how to apply for a position with our agency, please go to our website and follow the police tab for more information and details on how to apply with the pre-application online. Officer Monica Childers reported to the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy this month and is undergoing her training for about the next 15 weeks. Once she graduates from the ILEA, she will enter into a reacclimation field training program because she completed her field training actually before she went to the academy. And then once she does the reacclimation, she'll be released again to work on her own. And we anticipate this should happen sometime in May. So we're looking forward to getting her graduated, trained, and back out there so we can have her helping us out there with the rest of the officers. Final interviews for our intelligence analyst position will be next week. We've narrowed it down to 3 candidates now. They're all highly qualified. I wish we could hire all 3 of them because their experience, their education, their training, everything that they have in the intelligence analyst world is just unbelievable. We were just blown away by all of their interviews. So it's going to be exciting next week because they're going to get a scenario-based project to work on, and they're going to have to come in there and do kind of a simulation. And it's going to be interesting to see what they all come up with. So once that's completed, we hope to identify our final candidate, hopefully by the end of next week or the week after that. And then we can start the background investigation phase on that employee to make sure that they meet all of the standards and the background investigation so that they can be hired. With the town court now closed, as Jeremy Eglin mentioned a little bit ago, it's been a long process this last year, especially among the circumstances surrounding that. I'll just reiterate what he said. Thank you to Julie and Kathy and Crystal and everybody that's chipped in over there to help learn how to get that thing closed. And now we've kind of started the preparation for the renovation of the courtroom over there. So we're excited to get going on that so that we can kind of turn that into a training room, a meeting room, and really try to make it meet all of the needs to help with the size of our expanding department as well. The stats that you have for December in your packets there, you're going to see most of those numbers are average as normal. There's one there that you're going to see that's way above average, and that's traffic stops. I knew somebody would see that and be like, wow, what are we doing out there? We're just really, really stopping a lot of cars. Well, we were in December because we had the CARS grant allots so many hours and time, and we had a lot of officers that were trying to catch up on the hours that were allotted to them. So they were out there doing what they were supposed to do, and it actually worked out pretty good because December tends to be a pretty busy month on our roads and out here in our busy areas of town. So they were out there slowing people down and stopping people from driving aggressively and so forth. So we feel like that program did help make an impact. And there's a number of other items in your packet there regarding some of the other areas associated with all of our other programs that we're involved in, our task forces and so forth. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have over any of those or any of the other stats that are presented to you here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you.
Ms. Loker.
Just a quick update for you. I know all of you have already been made aware that we received our 1782. I have reviewed that as well as Ryan and our team at FSG. I have signed it and sent that back to them today. Tomorrow was the deadline for it. We're good to go with our budget and everything that was presented to you. So successful year last year.
Great job, Julie. Thank you. Moving on. Next item is council comment and liaison reports. We'll start with you, Ms. Loudon.
Attended the joint meeting with the school board last week, and that was where we all met and discussed the new shared government and administration building, and just it's exciting. There's a lot of synergy that's building, and I think we've narrowed it down on the exterior at least, and everyone's in agreement, and it'll be exciting to see it happen.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Zuzen?
The RDC met on Monday. So the RDC was there on Monday. I did not make it. I was out of town. And then the EDC met on Tuesday. So that's all we have right now.
Mr. Puckett?
I don't have much since I'm not on any boards and commissions yet, but I did want to say congratulations to the Avon boys basketball team for winning the 2024 Hendricks County Tournament. And Tuesday was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, so I just want to thank you for all that the law enforcement in Avon does. That's it for me.
Agreed. I just want to add that the building looks, I'm very excited for that new government center. As well, we had a school board meeting Monday, just some minor updates on, as Ian mentioned, multiple school projects going on around the community. Just had some minor updates from them, and they as well, like us, elected their new leadership. Kim Woodward's president, Ann Englehart, vice president, Sarah Parent is the secretary, and as well excited for the new year. Moving on, first item on new business is election of our 2024 officers. As you guys know, first thing of the year, we elect new council president, council vice president. Before I open it up, I want to begin. First, thank you. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, for the honor, for the respect, for the trust to have done this for the last 2 years. However, I've got a lot on my plate this year, and I'm hoping I don't fill this position again this year. So with that said, I am going to open the nominations up, and I have not done this in the past, and I'm going to this year. I'm going to make a nomination for Greg to be our council president. Again, the nominations are open for others as well.
I'll second.
Wow, excellent. Any other nominations? Julie, would you mind taking a roll call vote for Greg as council president?
Catching up on my notes. Okay. Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4.
Congratulations.
Next, open up nominations for council vice president, and I want to nominate Dawn. I think you would be a great sidekick, if you will. That's not even fair. I think you would be a great person to checks and balances and work with Greg to make sure we are moving forward. So I nominate Dawn, and of course, anyone else.
I'll second Robert's nomination.
Thanks, Jason. Any other nominations? Julie, would you mind taking a roll call vote for Dawn as vice president?
Okay. Robert Pope,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Don Loudon.
4.
Congratulations.
There you go. Congratulations.
Be careful what you ask for, right? Well, first of all, I want to thank Robert for his last 2 years of leadership as our council president. We've got a lot of things accomplished, and we've been involved in a lot of different situations, and I think we've done a wonderful job working together, and I hope we can continue that. I want to thank the other council members, not only for the nomination, but for supporting the nomination. And I know there's some things that we need to work on, and I'll be the first to say I will work on them, and I'll be in touch with everybody else to update ourselves and figure out where we're at, where we're going, because we do have a great community, and it's moving in the right direction, and we want to keep it going that way. So thank you. The next thing on the agenda then is the appointment of the boards and committee appointments. Some of this, there's a couple of different positions that are coexistent, so we'll start with the Plan Commission. That seems to be the most difficult one because it's got coexisting positions on another board. There are 4 individuals that are up: David Kaufman, Bill Reed, Paul Guckenberger, and Catherine Ransberg. I'll nominate Paul Guckenberger and Catherine Ransberg as the president's nominations, and I would recommend to the council that we also nominate David Kaufman and Bill Reed. But it is a council decision, so I'll open it up for conversation.
Let me because they're coextensive, they have to be appointed to another board first. So I'd recommend we appoint them to that other board first and then come back to those 2 appointments. Since you already did Paul and Catherine, those are your appointments. Those are good. Is that correct, Dan? So I'd ask, would you mind switching to, I believe we have them in line for back on the RDC, but I say swap to that one. I'd recommend we swap to that one.
We can go to the RDC, and the 5 individuals there that are all wanting to be reappointed: Jason Tuttle, Bob Collier, Dave Kaufman, Bill Reed, and Jason Nguyen. I'll nominate Jason Tuttle, Bob Collier, and Dave Kaufman as the president's nominations. And then council has 2 positions to fill, and I would recommend the other 2 individuals.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Bill Reed and Jason Nguyen to the Redevelopment Commission.
Second.
A roll call, or do we need a vote on that, Dan?
Yes,
Okay.
just on the 2.
Bill Reed and who?
Jason Nguyen. Wyn, I think, though. It's Nguyen.
W-Y-E-N.
Nguyen.
Hold on a second. You guys talk really fast. Okay. Robert Pope,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4. And then while we're there, Jennifer Spencer, who is on the Plan Commission, she asked to be considered for the redevelopment. I would recommend that we add her as the backup for the RDC in case one of the other committee members is unable to attend or has to withdraw. So let's slide down then to the BZA then, because that's another one. With me appointing Catherine Ransberg on the BZA, she was one of those, it's a Plan Commission representative, so I think we're okay with her to be on the BZA. Paul Guckenberger is the other one, but that nomination comes from the Plan Commission.
Yeah, sorry. Can you back up? You're going too fast, Greg. So can we slow you down slightly?
Okay?
So we got your RDC pieces on Jennifer Spencer as the backup. I think if that's what the council wants to do, you guys should vote for that. And then when you're done with that, let's go back to the Plan Commission before you scroll down to the BZA.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Jennifer Spencer as the backup to the Redevelopment Commission.
Second.
Robert Pope,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Jason Puckett.
4.
So Greg, if you wouldn't mind, reiterate your 2 council president appointments. So remember, we're trying to track these and write them down, and especially Julie, for her minutes, she needs to track them. So if you guys go super fast, it gets challenging for us. So if you wouldn't mind, just do your 2 again for council president, and then you guys can do your town council appointments.
Council President's appointees for the Plan Commission are Paul Guckenberger and Catherine Ransberg. And then the Town Council has 2 positions to fill. Currently, Dave Kaufman and Bill Reed are up for their term expiring. And I would recommend that the council consider them to be reappointed.
And I'll make a motion to that effect. I'll make a motion that the council appoint Dave Kaufman and Bill Reed to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
Now moving on to the BZA.
And just to be clear for you guys on those 2 appointments you just did for Dave Kaufman and Bill Reed, it's coextensive with their term of government. So their appointments will be up at the end of 24. We'll get that corrected in the spreadsheet.
And Bill Reed is on the RDC as well as Dave Kaufman, so,
Right, yep.
okay. So then the BZA, with me appointing Catherine Ransberg, she's still going to be on there. The only position left to be approved is via the Plan Commission appointing their representative. And Paul Guckenberger is that individual now and will continue to hold that position until the Plan Commission has their next meeting. There was a little question because the BZA meets before the Plan Commission, so. And then Dave Kaufman is the backup on the BZA. So should we vote for those then as well?
Yes. I'll make a motion that we keep Dave Kaufman as the backup for the BZA.
Second.
Robert Pope,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
For,
Jason Puckett,
4.
Don Loudon.
4.
now we have not identified any backups for the Plan Commission. And we can certainly look at that, but I know we had some individuals that applied for that. And I didn't know if there's any council member that knew these individuals that applied. Do we want to identify a backup for the Plan Commission, or we'll just leave it vacant at this time?
I think we can address it probably later.
Yeah, it's because the plan, my opinion, because the Planning Commission is the most, I like to describe it, Tetris-y puzzle piece, very difficult. I feel like there are 3 or 4 different people we'd have to appoint to have somebody that we could instantly place in. I would like to have those backups, but I agree with Don. I think we should cross that bridge if and when we come to it.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we just postpone those identifying those individuals to maybe the next meeting, or get your comments to Ryan and we can add them then. In the past, we've had Grant Niemeyer and Brianna Moss, and I know Grant, but I don't know Brianna. And we've been fortunate. We've not had to go to the backup, so I think we'll be okay. Next item then is the Stormwater Board. Jan Reeder is up for reelection, and I would nominate Jan Reeder then to continue for the next 4 years on the Stormwater Board. And then the backup would be Drew Wilson as well.
I second that motion for both Jan Reeder and Drew as the backup.
That's his appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry. For the backup, though?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, every appointment on that board is made by the council president, so wouldn't the backup then be by the council president as well?
Okay.
Do we need to vote, take action on that? Okay. Next board is the Economic Development. Matt Isabel, his term is up. He is asked to be reappointed. So I will reappoint Matt Isabel as the council president appointee to the Economic Development Board. Moving on then to the Parks Advisory Council. We have 1 vacancy currently, and we have 3 individuals whose terms are up. I know this is an area where we're trying to bring new people on, and this is somewhere where they can get involved, get their feet wet, not become overwhelmed like if you're on the Plan Commission or BZA. So these are town council appointees. They're for 2 years. The vacancy is a not in town position. And I'll open it up for any comments or suggestions from anybody here on council that who they'd like to see there.
I shared my opinion at the work session, at least on that particular spot. We absorbed AJAA into the town, and so now we have a sports program that I don't believe we've had I don't believe we have extensive experience within youth sports and a sports program currently sitting on the board. I think it would behoove us to have someone on that board that does have that experience. And so I make a recommendation for the vacancy. Well, there's 4 vacant seats. The non-willing to reapply open seat, I'd nominate Dina Albin to fill that spot.
Okay.
I make a motion to that effect to appoint Dina Albin to the PRBC.
I'll second that.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4. Okay, then we have the 3 incumbents, I'll call them, Steve Shaker, Jonathan DeArmond, and Whit Richardson, taking the same tone as Robert regarding the AJA coming on board. I recommend, I'll throw out a couple names, Nick Stefani, that we would add, continue with Jonathan DeArmond, and continue with Steve Shaker.
I'll make a motion to add Nick Stefani and the other 2. Who was it?
Jonathan DeArmond and Steve Shaker.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Nick Stefani to that board and also Jonathan DeArmond and Steve Shaker to stay on there.
I'll second.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4. And then lastly, regarding Parks Advisory, there are 2 backups available. I recommend that we appoint Sarah Osmondson as one of the backups and Whit Richardson as the other backup.
Do you want to make that motion?
I made that motion.
I'll second.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
Okay, the police department will take care of the police merit board. We'll move down to the fires appeal board. Ryan, were you able to determine these different terms, expiration dates?
No, Julie and I are still working to verify those. We believe the 3 in blue were appointed by Council President Pope last year or by the council last year. We're trying to verify those. We'll let you guys know, but you do have, John Lazaro's term is up. And so I did speak or email with John Lazaro and he was willing to continue serving.
Well, then I make a recommendation that we approve John Lazaro for another 4-year term on the Fires Appeal Board.
I'll make a motion that we appoint John Lazaro to the Fire Appeals Board.
Second.
Robert Pope,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4.
You keep it up there, Julie?
Ryan, do we need to take any action on the recreation impact fee because we're still trying to understand those expiration dates as well?
Yeah, no, not right now. I think Dan and I need to do a little research back on how that happened and determine the term expiration. So we'll work on that and we'll get back to you guys if it needs to be adjusted.
They have done a great job, though. They've been great.
The Tax Abatement Committee is right now Ryan Cannon, John Taylor, and Scott Wyndham. That'll remain the same. There are no terms associated with that. The Avon Municipal Facilities Corporation is an entity that we don't control, so we don't have to take any action on that. You go down to these other Citizens Water Advisory Board. Ryan, you want to be on that again?
Yes, I would recommend that. They're not meeting the same way since Citizens has bought it, but I would still like to be the representative and go to those when they do it.
And then we have the Dispatch Board. Robert has indicated he'd like to be the member on that. The Hendricks County Recycling District Board, that's open as well, and Robert, appoint him to that. The Hendricks County Economic Development Board, I recommend John Taylor as our Economic Development Director. The IRTC Policy Committee is Ryan Cannon, with the backup being Ian. The IRTC Technical Committee, Steve Moore, with the backup is Keaton Olson. AeroVision, we're going to check into that to see if that still meets, if it's still a functioning body, so we'll leave that open. And then the Chamber of Commerce, we changed that to just Ryan or John. If anybody else has any comments or suggestions, we need a motion. These are all appointed by the town council.
Hey, Greg, I think the one other one we discussed, that was new, it used to be the CICEO and it's now CERTA. And so I don't know if we want to add that one as well. It's not as necessarily officially an appointment, but I still recommend that you guys do that. I've kind of been acting on that, but I'd suggest there may be times in CERTA that the council president would be of value to participate with me in that. I can attend most of the meetings, but there may be occasions where the council president would participate. So if you want that to be you, Greg, that
is
up to the
fine. Then
council.
let's add CERTA and add myself then as the member representing the council at that organization. Down below, the next step below, we'll go over some more, but if we can take action on those items.
Who did you recommend for HCEDP board? Was John Taylor and who?
Just John Taylor.
Just John. Okay. I make a motion. I'm going to list a slate of candidates of appointments here. I make a motion that we appoint Ryan Cannon to the Citizens Watery Advisory Board, that we appoint myself, Robert Pope, to the Dispatch Board and to the Hendricks County Recycling District Board, as well as John Taylor to the Hendricks County Economic Development Partnership Board, as well Ryan Cannon to the IRTC Policy Committee, and have Steve Moore as his backup. The IRTC Technical Committee, we appoint Steve Moore as the primary and Keaton Olson as the backup. The Chamber of Commerce, we appoint Ryan Cannon and John Taylor. And the CERTA board, we nominate or appoint Greg as the appointment there.
Second.
Julie, I tried to slow the tempo down.
Got it.
Okay.
Julie, you let us know when you're ready to
I'm ready.
do a roll call vote.
So can I make two clarifications, please? I think Greg recommended as the backup for the IRTC Policy Committee, Ian. But Robert, when you did it, you did
You
Steve.
did. I apologize. I
Either one's fine. This is, want to make sure we clarify.
Make it Ian.
And then on the CERTA board, you just did Greg instead of Greg and I. Which is
Roger.
fine if that's what you want to do. But
What two?
I was gonna say,
My
I'd
apologies.
recommend that it has a lot of meetings during the day. And so I'd suggest that's probably better for me to do, but Greg is kind of on there with me as well.
Yep. I amend my motion to remove Steve as the backup for the IRTC Policy Committee and make that Ian Loera, and include Ryan Cannon on the CERTA board.
Second.
Don Loudon,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4. Okay, now on to liaisons to boards and commissions. Robert had provided me some information, so I'm going to kind of build off of that. I'm going to put Jason as a liaison to the police, to the parks, to the library, and to the EDC. We've talked about Robert to recycling and dispatch, but also to schools and the WCCD. Tim, Plan Commission, but I'm also going to include him on the BZA, the RDC, and the RDA. And then Dawn, the township, and continue with annexation. And then I would be on the collaboration group. We've talked about sort of CICEO goes away. And then I put my name down for county council and county commissioners. And then add myself also to the security board or committee.
Ryan, do we need to make that change regarding the security committee for the cyber security appointment?
Yeah, I'd recommend that for the admin technology placeholder, I think as we've worked through it this year, Jared was fulfilling that role. I don't know that that made a lot of sense. I think it was creating some inefficiency. So I'd suggest that you guys just put me into that role. And I think that will save some frustration for Jared.
Greg, there's another board. It's the one for, Ryan, you'll have to help me with the word here. It's like the emergency management one. It's the FEMA one.
Oh, FEMA?
So I know Sean, myself, and Ryan.
COO.
Yeah, that's like continuity of operations was what we named it. Yep.
So Sean, Ryan, and I have all attended those with the county. So if you want to throw me in there, I can keep on that one.
It's called COO.
Continuity of operations.
Yeah. And that's currently, there's 5 people. Sean Stoops represents the police department. Jason Porter is representing the fire department. Steve Moore is representing public works. Mike Tully is representing building, and Don Loudon is representing the council. That's currently who's on the continuity of operations committee.
We'll just continue with that. Is there anything else that we're missing? Would somebody like to make a motion, or do we even need to do a motion on that?
Those are all town council appointments, Greg. So town council president appointments. So if you're okay with them, they're good. If I look through it when we fill out our sheet and I'm missing anything, I'll let you know, and we'll hit it next time. It looks like it's everything I've got on my list. So
I'm good with it. Everybody else is good with it? Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda then is the Town Attorney 2024 engagement letter. Mr. Taylor.
Every year we present to you an engagement letter. This engagement letter is exactly the same as the first 20, I think it is now, you've seen, except that our hourly rate for government entities is changing from $225 per hour to $235. That's a 4.4% increase. That is just an inflation adjustment. Our rate is still less than many other law firms. We're proud of that. We want to provide a good value to you, and it's also much lower than my normal rate of $350. We only give it to our preferred clients, but you certainly are one. Otherwise, the engagement is exactly the same, and it does have my favorite part, which it also says you can get rid of us at any time you'd like.
Well, I like the 4 point whatever increase better than a 10 or a 20, because you're well worth it. But we'll go with a 4 point. Any questions for Mr. Taylor? Motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the Town Attorney 2024 engagement letter as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
Go ahead, Jason.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Jason Puckett,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4. Next is our financial consulting agreements. Mr. Cannon.
yeah, as you guys are aware, we do use Financial Solutions Group to help us with some of our finance, our budget analysis, sustainability analysis, a lot of our financial planning, revenue and spending plan, CIP. And so typically we do this at the beginning of the year. It is an hourly contract. As I mentioned in my memo to the council, typically they run around $40,000 to $50,000 a year. A lot of that is depending on how many changes we have and what kind of things happen. This year we did an excess levy that required a little bit of extra work. Certainly it was worth the extra money to be able to do that for us. And again, as I mentioned in my memo, Financial Solutions Group has been our financial advisor for the town since we came into existence. And we are very proud of our financial position and how strong we are. And so a lot of that is a result of Financial Solutions Group providing us good leadership and being conservative in our budgeting and finance. So I would recommend continuing to use Financial Solutions Group for that. Also on there, there's a approval for them to do our continuing disclosures for our bonds as well. This was also on the Redevelopment Commission's agenda because the Redevelopment Commission has some bonds, but we do have some general obligation bonds as well. So this kind of is on both of yours. There's certain disclosures they have to provide. So that's in order for them to be able to do that, to keep us on task and make sure we're reporting whatever we need to report to the bonding agencies for our bonds. So again, would recommend approval of that and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I think Greg's done a great job. Go ahead, Jason.
I make a motion that we approve both documents as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
Next item on the agenda is the Easton Gray Agreement. Mr. Cannon?
Yeah, I know you guys had seen this already. We approved this in, I think, either late November, early December. So I apologize for bringing it back to you again, but Republic did ask us for a couple of minor changes. And so you do have a red line document there and a clean document as well. I'll summarize. There's really 3 substantial changes to the agreement. One is because of their financing, they've asked to split section 1 of the Riverwalk District into 2 sections, which would be a 1A and a 1B. Essentially, it'll function the same. There is a map in there in the agreement that shows kind of what 1A and 1B is. They basically tried to pull some of the infrastructure out. They'll do fewer of the apartments as part of phase 1A. And they want to get a certain amount actually filled before they start building some of the other ones. So really, to us, it has no impact. 2, it does have a little bit of impact on us. Previously, we had committed that we would build a government center or a civic center as part of the Easton Gray project. And so that is in there, but they did ask us for a stipulation that once they get the infrastructure substantially complete, that the town make a commitment to start building that within 6 months. And as those of you who were at the joint session with the school board, this was one of the discussions we talked about, that we're actually kind of waiting for them at this point. So I don't have any issue with us making that commitment to say we'll start within 6 months. Julie's beating on me to get started like next month. So again, no issue with that. And the other one is, again, in the agreement, they had a requirement that the town would provide events and energy to the civic center. And so we talked about this a little bit at the work session with the adjacent soccer fields. The civic space is supposed to activate that space and attract people to the town center. And so the agreement already had that we would do that. It just didn't specify anything specific. And so they've now asked for us to specifically agree to provide at least 25 events that would attract people there. Again, I don't foresee any issue with that. I think all the energy and the activity that we want to generate in that area, farmers markets, fireworks, tree lightings, all the things we're going to be doing anyway, I think we'll easily hit 25. So I don't have any concerns with that amended provision either. So I would recommend approval of the agreement. It did go to the Redevelopment Commission and they approved it. It also went to the EDC and they approved it as well. So you guys are the last signatory to it. And so I'm happy to answer any questions. It was, of course, reviewed by our town attorney as well as our bond counsel. Financial Solutions Group reviewed it as well. So it went through all the vetting process of our economic development team.
The events you talked about, I mean, they didn't have any events that they wanted us to list to our laundry list?
No, I mean, that list of events was actually stuff they identified.
Okay.
And so those were things they came up with before. That was in the original agreement.
Right.
It just didn't say we had to do 25 of them before. So the only addition they made was that we would commit to doing 25.
So In the event we end up with, heaven forbid, another pandemic, I mean, if we can't hold 25 one year, is that a problem?
Yeah, it's covered in the agreement. There are provisions that say if there's an act of God or some other event with war, with anything that makes performance impossible, then the party under that obligation is relieved. So in the general provisions of the contract, and certainly during the pandemic, that provision raised its head a lot
Okay.
because you couldn't do a lot of things people couldn't do because they weren't allowed to go to work or weren't allowed to
We're not allowed to
deliver.
gather.
Right. So we'll be okay there.
Okay.
The other thing I had at the EDC meeting was the draw bond. We don't have any issues with our bonding because they're going to break it up into phase 1A and 1B because they're draw bonds.
Correct. Yeah, they're planning on doing
Better for
2
us.
series basically of a similar bond, which is exactly what we did with Avon Landing. So again, that's pretty typical of what we've been doing on some of these economic development bonds. So again, yeah, we don't have an issue with that.
It's actually better.
It actually is better for us, correct?
Right. No, I didn't want it the other way. They took all the money up front and didn't have anything for phase B. Okay, and then do you foresee any future changes? Because they kind of keep coming back now and
Well, it's funny that you said that, Greg, because I got an email from him yesterday asking for other changes, and I said, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. The answer is yes, those were minor changes. The reality is that this is a long-term commitment and a partnership between us and Republic. So I imagine there will be changes throughout. Some of them the town may ask for. There are things that may happen. So I don't expect it to change again before they sign it this time. Last time, all 3 of our entities signed it and they did not. So I expect them to sign it and we'll have an agreement. So I would expect if there are any other changes, they would just be amendments, not us modifying the agreement anymore. He agreed to that in the email when I responded back. So
And when do they say that they're going to start pushing dirt around over there?
So they have said that they're going to start doing some tree clearing this winter. So as you guys know, because of bats, we have a requirement that any tree clearing has to be done by March 31st. So they have said they're going to get out and do that work, even just here in the next couple of months, as well as start doing some of the demolition. It's a real thing. And then, so they'll also do some of the demolition of some of the structures as well. So I think we'll see some of that. And then I would hope that our goal is that they would start moving dirt, hopefully in the spring. And then we'd probably be doing the bond sales. So Dan and I were talking about this earlier, probably maybe June, July, we'd start actually doing the bonds. They can, our provisions allow them to start the work, even if the bond sales afterwards, and then we can reimburse them after they've already started that work. So we're hoping, they're getting construction bids now. So we're hoping they start soon.
well, if interest rates decline like they say, they'd probably want us to delay the bond sale to keep lowering that rate to their advantage. Any other questions for Mr. Cannon? Need a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the Easton Gray Agreement as amended and presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tom Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-01, authorization to acquire right-of-way for White Lick Creek Trail connection to 625 East.
Yes, the Parks Department and town staff have been working on designing a trail connection basically from 625, which is the pedestrian crossing for Murphy Aquatic Park, back to the White Lake Creek Trail. That was one of the goals of our bike and ped master plan, was to create that connection. As part of that, it looks unusual. So if you go look at the AJA property, it looks like there's a piece of property there that's actually part of AJA, but it's actually not. It's part of the property to the north. And so the town did some drainage work through there, and that was actually on this property owner's property, but there was a drainage easement there which allowed us to do the work. So in order to do the trail construction, we'd actually have to buy it as right of way. The drainage easement doesn't allow us to build a trail in it. And so this is just authorization for us to be able to acquire it. I'd provide a copy of the appraisal, and then we would make the offer to the property owners and go through that normal process for the acquisition. So we would recommend you guys approve Resolution 2024-01.
Any conversation, any comments?
No, I think we need it. I mean, for safety. I
My
think
only
that-
comment is typically we give them a 10% leeway. Because this is in a flood,
Right.
I would just say the value is at the $18,600.
Yeah, the resolution also has up to 25, but you do have an appraisal of 18.6. What's that going to matter on the motion and authorization to pay here?
Well, I always ask for a little bit more because we just don't know. And I think that's to Greg's point is I think he's saying, don't negotiate much, Ryan, and that's fine. Part of the reason I put in that number is that property owner actually owns 3 parcels. So there's a parcel south, there's the parcel his house sits on, and then there's a parcel to the north, and then the township owns the parkland north of that. And so we felt like there was a possibility that they may come back and say, town, would you just buy that whole parcel instead of us cutting off almost half of it or more than half of it? And so I tried to leave myself a little leeway that I don't have to come back to you. That's fine, you guys can say that, but then if he counter offers at 19,000, I have to come back and ask you guys to do another resolution. So I'm trying to be efficient and remedy the acquisition of the parcel without having to continuously come back to you guys for it.
So you're saying that this is basically taking half of that one parcel
That's correct.
because of the floodplain?
No, it doesn't really have anything to do with the floodplain. Some of that parcel is in the floodplain.
Mhm.
But the reality is they may not find the remnant of that remainder parcel useful, and they may counter and just say, town, would you just buy the whole parcel?
Yeah, and it just as a reminder, in these cases, we can only take what we need for the project. So the reason we're taking or asking to take what we need is exactly what we need for the project. So though sometimes the owner will say, well, if you're going to take half of this, why don't you just take the whole thing? We're not allowed to condemn under those circumstances. Now, we can negotiate with an owner and meet an agreement to do that. But remember, we're regulated in that we can only condemn exactly and not a single inch more than what we think we need for the project. So currently we're confined. I would recommend, I agree with Ryan. I think that you should give flexibility. And the reason for that is not only because of the acquisition potential of other parcels, but also because these condemnation cases, as much as Anna enjoys them, they are very expensive. And if we can get the matter settled and the other party can go get their own appraisal, it may come in higher, rather than incur $8,000 or $9,000 of expenses, which would be kind of average on a condemnation case, just to get it to the take phase. If we can use that money instead of paying us and get that to make a quicker acquisition, then that's better for the town. And that's why we like that flexibility. If the other party is willing to be reasonable, we will work with that. If the other party's not, then that's when we get involved. But I support Ryan's recommendation for those reasons.
Any other comments? Motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-01, authorization to acquire the right-of-way for the White Lick Creek Trail connection to 625 East, not to exceed $25,000.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Greg Zuzen,
Or
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Jason Puckett.
4. Next item is Resolution 2024-02, equipment for retiring officer. Chief Stoops.
So at our last meeting in December, we recognized some employees for their commitment and service. One of those individuals was Officer Mike Whittle. He's now past his 20-year mark, and it looks like he will be retiring. And as we've done before, it's been customary to award our retirees with their service weapon and badge. And because we like to do that, we are also required to do a resolution that has to be passed in order to award that town property to the employees. So that's what we're here asking to do tonight. We don't have an exact date yet. We do know he has accepted one job offer in the private sector. So we just don't know what that start date's going to be. So we're just trying to be efficient and be ahead of this so that we don't have to try to scramble at the next meeting to maybe try to do this. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief Stoops?
Nope.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-02.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say,
Go ahead.
We have a
You got it,
motion and a
Dawn.
second. Roll call.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
Thank you.
Hate it, but thanks, Sean.
Legal counsel report, Mr. Taylor.
We talked at training just about oversight, so I am pleased to report to you as part of your oversight responsibilities that we will be working, we've already begun working with Ryan to schedule department head training and also employee training in compliance with all the provisions of the employee handbook. Your staff, they do a great job with this, but we will be getting that done here probably by the end of February to make sure that they receive much more in-depth training, I might say, particularly on human resources issues. So we will report back to you that we've completed that, but we've already begun working on it. That's all I have.
Thank you. This is the second of 2 public comment opportunities. So if you'd like to address the council, please come forward, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. With nobody coming forward, then we'll close that part of the agenda and move to council comment.
Welcome, Jason.
I recommend or welcome Jason as well, and I know he's going to be going to the newly elected officer training. So I told him everything you're going to learn is right here, but you should go there anyhow and get that certification. But welcome. You'll be a great addition.
Thank you. I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, we didn't do anything yet, but we will. But happy 25 years, Ryan. 25 years as a town employee. I was going to ask about the court transition, but Jason and Sean kind of talked about that, so we got that squared away. We will be coming up with a date for a vision strategic planning session, maybe like the first part of October. I'm sorry, February. I'm looking at something else and saying what I'm reading, which is not good. And I also thank Dawn for taking on the leadership as vice president, and we'll work together and we'll make this happen. And lastly, and because of that, I'm going to be gone on 2/22. So.
Back out of appointments at this point?
Council calendar.
Don't have anything other. Next meeting is January 25th, as we talked about in our work session. We're going to do an executive session at 5:30, and then you'll have your regularly scheduled meeting at 7 p.m.
Can I ask on the council calendar topic? We have new appointments. Can you send us when those boards, those appointments typically meet? First Thursday of the month, that kind of thing, and time and location best we can. Get us to the right locations.
Yep. Yeah, we normally try to get everyone invites, even to the boards and commissions. We've held off until after appointments, but now that we've done that, we try to copy all the council liaisons into those just so they're aware of when they're doing them.
Thanks, Ryan.
And I think too, on those appointments as liaisons, if we determine that there's really no value in it, let us know, because I'd rather that we know there's no value than say, well, so-and-so hasn't shown up all year. And we don't want that either. So, and if they don't meet anymore, like the Earl Vision, we're not sure, we don't think they meet anymore, let's just get it off the agenda and everybody's calendar. All right. With that, meeting adjourned.